Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story about a really bold promise and an even bolder prophecy. It's a moment that's going to test the absolute limits of loyalty. So, we're jumping into a short but incredibly powerful passage from Matthew chapter 26, specifically verses 31 through 35. This is a super dramatic exchange that gets into prophecy, human confidence, and, well, the heartbreaking reality of failure. It's all packed into just a few lines. All right, so our story kicks off on the Mount of Olives. This is happening right after the Last Supper, and you can just feel the tension in the air. And that's when Jesus makes this absolutely startling prediction to his disciples. So, right there in verse 31, Jesus drops a bombshell. He tells them that every single one of them, yep, all of them, will abandon him that very night. And he doesn't just say it's going to happen, he says it's the fulfillment of a prophecy from the Old Testament. And, this connection is just so important. This isn't some random tragedy that's about to unfold. By quoting the book of Zechariah, Jesus is literally linking his own fate to a specific event that was foretold centuries earlier. He's showing them that his suffering, it's all part of a much, much larger divine plan. Now, it's really important we get this right. The word offended here, it doesn't mean what we think it means today, like their feelings were hurt. No, in this context, it means they would be made to stumble, to literally run away in fear for their own lives. It was an act of weakness, of self-preservation, which is totally different from the calculated, hardened betrayal of Judas. And then, in verse 32, right after that incredibly dark prediction, Jesus gives them this powerful promise of hope. He tells them, hey, this scattering, it's temporary. This is not the end of the story. There's a reunion already planned in Galilee, right after his resurrection. So you can imagine the disciples are just reeling, trying to process this news. And that's when one of them, you guessed it, the always impulsive Peter, speaks up with just absolute conviction. In verse 33, Peter just completely separates himself from the rest of the group. He hears Jesus say, all of you will be offended, and his response is basically, maybe them, but not me. No way. It's this moment of intense, almost competitive loyalty, and it's coming from a genuine place. He really wants to stand by Jesus, no matter what. I mean, you can really feel how sincere he is. His loyalty in this moment feels unshakable. But what's really happening here is that this heartfelt promise is showing a huge blind spot. Peter's confidence is all in himself, in his own strength and courage. And that's what sets the stage for the dramatic fall that's about to come. Okay, so let's get to the climax of this whole exchange. Jesus hears Peter's passionate promise, but his response isn't praise. Instead, he comes back with an even more specific and deeply personal prophecy. And there it is, verse 34. Jesus just completely counters Peter's confidence with this shocking and incredibly precise prediction. Not only will you deny me, Peter, but you're going to do it 3 times, and all before a very specific signal sounds. Okay, so this phrase, the cock crow, it's so much more interesting than just a rooster waking up in the morning. It's actually a super fascinating historical clue that points us directly to what life was like in Roman-occupied Jerusalem. So here's a little piece of history that just unlocks everything. This wasn't some vague reference to early morning. The Roman military actually used trumpet blasts to mark the time at night, and the one that signaled the end of the third watch, well, it was nicknamed the cockcrow, or Gallicinium in Latin. And this just brilliantly illustrates the incredible precision of this prophecy. Jesus was telling Peter, you will deny me before that 3 a.m. trumpet rings out from the Roman fortress nearby. It was a specific, unmissable deadline. Just incredible. But even after that chillingly specific warning, what does Peter do? He doubles down. He insists he would literally rather die than deny Jesus. And this time, his passion is so contagious that the other disciples all chime in, saying, yeah, us too. Oh, this moment is just dripping with dramatic irony, isn't it? We, the readers, know what's coming, and that makes Peter's confident promise all the more heartbreaking. His zeal was so real, so sincere, but he just had no idea what kind of fear and pressure he was about to face. And that gap between who he thought he was and the reality of the situation, that's what led directly to his failure. So when we step back, what should we really take away from these 5 verses? Well, first, we see that prophecy here is both huge and cosmic, but also incredibly personal. We're shown how even our most sincere promises can just crumble under extreme pressure. And we see how a tiny piece of historical context, like a Roman trumpet call, can unlock a whole new layer of meaning. It's this incredible tension between God's foreknowledge and our human choices. And all of this leaves us with a really challenging question to chew on. Peter was absolutely confident, but his confidence was in himself, in his own strength. So it really makes you wonder, what is the real difference between that kind of human confidence and true faith, especially when you're facing a future you just can't predict?